We're live.
Good morning, good afternoon.
It's not backtrack.
Welcome to the Finance and Administration Committee for September 9th, 2025. Good morning, good afternoon. We will follow the meeting to order. Are there any declaration of pecuniary interests?
No.
Thank you. I don't believe we have any delegations, so we can circulate the prior meeting's minutes. Are there any questions on those minutes?
No, I've already approved them. In July, at the last council meeting at the end of July.
And were there any ongoing tasks carried forward?
Nothing.
All right, we can move on to the health and safety, the Joint Health and Safety Committee inspection sheets. Were there any questions about those?
No, pretty clean.
Yes. Well, then we can move on to new business. So did you want me, should I do them individually?
I think we can do all the bank recs in one.
Okay, were there any questions on the May, June, and July bank reconciliation,
No,
including water?
Great.
Okay, fantastic. And we can move on to number 7, 2026 village budget timeline.
Okay. Let me just make this a little bit bigger so you can
kind of small.
actually see it. So this, Jane put together a memo just outlining where we're going. I think probably the more important document is the actual schedule that is circulated with this as well. And it's just the process and the timelines to get us to approving getting a budget passed in late November, early December, whatever the date was there, and the steps that we're going to take and to get there. There is talk in here about a 5-year capital budget long term. Whether we'll get that done by then or not, I'm not sure. But in my mind, if we get 2026 done this year and then, but if time allows, we'll work towards it and have it as a plan at least. But also kind of doing the water department budget, doing it all at the same time because they do affect each other. So it's that way you're not, you're looking at it kind of holistically. So one thing we talked about a little bit back in February, March, April, we talked about the water department budget, and there's kind of 3 sources of income there. There's the service charge, the consumption charge, and the reserve fee. And we talked about breaking down the expenses to kind of match up with the revenues. And the idea was to match up the service fee with any staffing costs, the consumption charges and revenue with any operating costs, and then the reserves with the capital costs. And then also in the reserves, any grants we get and those types of things would be included in that revenue. So I went through it the other day, and I haven't even shared this with Jane yet. I haven't, I just did it late last week and haven't. So the let me just find the document. I'll go over it here quickly. So the service charges, what we budgeted for revenue this year is 554,000. The staff costs, and what I went through the environmental services department budget and assigned every account somewhere. And so the revenue is 554,000, expenses are about 674. So that leaves us about 120,000 short on revenue in that area. So if we increase the operating charge by 20%, that brings us to 665 and expenses 673. So that gets us closer. And then on the operating side, it's almost the exact opposite. We're about 1.4 or 140,000 more revenue than we have in expenses. So we have 1,180,000 in revenue and 920,000 in expenses. So in order to like, and the reason to do this is so then we can say, okay, if we need another staff person, we need to adjust our fixed costs by a certain percentage to cover that staff person.
Just hypothetically.
Yeah, and I mean, Jay has made it pretty clear that he feels we need another staff person, so we felt that breaking it down this way would kind of, if you need to raise your service fee by, let's say you have to raise it by 10% to cover an additional staff person, I mean, you still have to justify that in your head, but you can point to the rates. Okay, we changed the consumption, or we changed the service-free rate because we need to hire another staff, and it required a 10% increase to those fees to do that. So the number on the left, the 917,000, that represents, I believe it was a 15% decrease in the consumption rates. Let me just quickly, 85%. So it's a 15% decrease on the consumption rates, a 20% increase on the service fee. And that, I mean, this is again, very preliminary. That gets us pretty close to where we need to be. And then on the capital side, we have in the current year, we had revenue of 731, expenses of 775. Those numbers, those numbers should balance out quite a bit. If we have a year where we have a revenue, say of 800,000, we only have 600,000 in expenses, the other 200 would go into reserves. So it's just a way of breaking down the water department, environmental services department costs and assigning the costs to a revenue. So we had talked about that back in early in the year, and I've finally got around to starting the process on late last week. So just wanted to let you know where I'm at with that. And I'll sit down with Jane and Jay and we'll look at, make sure that I did what I think is right, assigning certain accounts to operating capital and staff costs. But there might be one example is health and safety. I left health and safety in operating, but you could potentially argue that health and safety is an employee cost. So there is room for debate.
Storm costs.
No, that's another issue that needs to be discussed. We've never, like, storm has always been part of the village budget, so I left it alone for now. But it is something that I had considered that we needed to decide if we want to leave it where it is or how we want to handle that. So I just wanted you to kind of know that I've started down that road to look at what it might look like, and we're working on it. So we talked about it a little bit at the water department, and Bev and Deputy Mayor Grimes and the mayor agreed to kind of at least continue the exploration down that path and see where it takes us.
Thank you. And Jane, thank you for putting this together. It's very thorough. Greatly appreciated.
The first step there is we've got a meeting set up on Thursday with all the management to the managers have all seen this timeline probably 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Again,
Oh,
emails, communications have been sent to all the general managers, so they are aware of the changes and they notice the schedule, and also for the 5-term capital plan, their template has been distributed as well, so give them time, the assignments, the it's for some department, but still is it, basically, what kind of, the documentation you have to, use.
And we touched on it with every group through this day. Just reminding of the process and I know you've already had sit downs.
Yeah,
With
kind of
some-
a
with some of them.
preliminary discussion with
Yeah,
some members.
yeah.
And it's felt that the timeline is realistic for
Yeah,
this year?
they kind of, talk about it, consult with the CEO, and they have a discussion. It's not once, a few times since we finished the 2025 budget. So we kind of come up with this one, so kind of, I think because the first year is subject to change, but it's reasonable at the time. Our target is the last council meeting of 2025. So, but before the meeting, we have committee meeting in November, maybe we utilize that time to kind of go through the whole budget and then in order to give our mayor and council, the whole process for new members, because this is the first week, so
So that meeting in November is actually going to
11th,
shift to Wednesday
to Wednesday.
because the 11th is Tuesday and it's a stat holiday.
Okay.
Just when you do
Okay,
your
thank you.
planning, yeah,
Right, so that's November 12th.
yes.
She actually has that in her schedule. She has.
Oh, she
November
knew
12th.
already.
You remind me.
Yeah.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, so that and be received and filed then. Are there any upcoming village events you'd like to share?
Yes, there's, as we went through today, we've come up with a few. So the fire hall open house will be October 6th. It's the first Monday in October at 6 o'clock. October the 8th is a fraud seminar at 7 o'clock at the community hall. And this is, this came from the police service board. And we have for a while had asked the OPP to look at presenting this seminar because they've done it in other places in the county. And it's been received very well. And it's like the romance scams and the grandparent scams and now worrying about AI. What else? Like anything that people are vulnerable with. So that's at the community hall. And then December 31st, we're going to have a public skate. 12 to 1:30, I think it was, yeah. And it's gonna come out of the mayor's account. So that's our holiday skate. We've got it arranged already. I think that was the only three things that came up today. Pass along.
We can move on to a review of the financial statements for the period ending in August 31st, 2025. Were there any questions if you reviewed those statements?
No, I didn't have any questions. Just, sorry, I just want to back up for a
Yeah.
little bit because I forgot one other thing Jim and I were talking about with the new budget. He's already got some submissions that have come back as requests.
Mhm.
So people
Right.
like recognizing the change in timing. So some have already come in.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
We've got 5 in and a couple that have kind of said it's coming.
And our Pima knows and the school knows and. So working through adjusting that schedule and getting people to be aware.
Wonderful. For the financial statements ending in the period of August 31st, 2025, we can receive and file those since there are no questions.
Second,
Is there anything else you'd like to add? That's it? Nothing else?
can't think of anything.
Fantastic. Okay, then we can set the next meeting date for October 14th, 2025 at 2:30 PM.